In cooperative problem-based learning, there are basically 3 phases that you need to undergo, for which the phase 1 is what we call as problem identification. So of course, when you got the problem given to you, you need to understand what is the problem all about and how do you overcome that particular problem. So what happens is that when the problem is given to the students, you'll be able to meet the problem individually, and you have to do some small activities alone, which is basically to restate and identify what is the problem all about. So when the problems or case study is given, understand what is the problem, write down necessary information, and therefore identify what are the things that you need to learn in order for you to solve the problem. And when you come to the class later, you'll be able to meet with your team, and you need to make consensus in terms of what is the problem is all about. And again, you need to identify what are the learning issues as a team. What have you known, what do you need to know, and what are your actual learning issues. And after the classroom group discussion, you need to share it with the classroom. So it's an inter-team sharing, so everybody we will know exactly what the problem is all about. Everybody have a common understanding what is the problem all about, and at the same time every team know what are their learning issues. You move to the second phase. This is what we call as peer learning and synthesizing strategies to solve the problem. In the second phase, there are few steps in order for you to achieve this particular phase. The first one is, when you have your learning issues, you need to identify what are the important things that you need to learn by yourself. So this is where actually you will be dividing among the team members the necessary information or materials that you need to read, which can be divided into 2. One is compulsory reading, and the second one is good to have reading. So once you read the materials, for example the textbooks, you need to write down your individual notes. You need to make your own individual notes, and therefore when you come back to the class later on, you need to do peer teaching in team. You will need to be able to share the information, whatever that you have read individually, as well as your notes, to discuss with your team members. And later we're gonna have an overall discussion so that everybody will be on the same pace on whatever that they have read and they have covered on their own. The second part is when basically you go out from the class, you need to meet again among yourself to discuss about the what are the application, what are the solutions towards the problem that is given to you. So you need to sit down together and discuss what are the possible solutions for the problem given, and you need to give some assigned tasks to each member to solve that particular problem. And you're gonna meet continuously, and before you reach the final stage, you need to have a consensus about how do you generate the solution. So you need to decide, because probably you have 3 or 4 solutions, but you need to decide one best solution that you need to pick, and these are the things that you're going to report later. So during the session in the classroom, we will have something like to do with progress reporting. So the facilitator will move from one group to another group to see that what have you achieved, what kind of the solution that you have generated, and we as the facilitator will probe you and checking in terms of your team progress. The final stage is basically what we call as phase 3, presentation and closure. So what is whatever that you have decided to present is basically you need to whatever that you have decided as a solution, you need to present it, and you need to probably submitting a report whatsoever. And at the same time, you are responsible, each of the members is responsible to give presentation of what they have covered, reflect on the process, and give feedback to each and every team member for better progression. This is important because you need to, why you are supposed to do reflection is that so that you can reflect from the stage from the first phase until the final phase, what you have undergone through, what you have learned, what are the materials that you have covered, as well as it is also important for you to rate your friend's performance and give your individual feedback. It can be anonymously to your team members so that they know what are the elements, what are the important skills that they need to improve from time to time. So this is the presentation part, and finally will be the closure part, where basically we as the facilitators will give you feedback on your overall performance and what are the lessons learned that you have learned throughout the problem solving activities. So let's move to practicing on identifying problem and learning issues. So I'm going to give you a problem here. So what is the problem? The problem is highlighted here. The region of Pariaman in Padang, Indonesia was badly affected by the recent earthquake. Local news report that several villages and towns were totally destroyed, crippling communication, transportation, and all public facilities. According to a report from local officials, many residents, especially from rural villages, are in need of urgent medical care as well as other basic needs. You are with a group of humanitarian volunteers and workers. The group has been approached to help with the problem. You have access to further support, resources and funding which would be given based on your recommendations. What recommendation would you make to help solve the problem? So you need to read this. For example, this is just an example of a very simple problem. But when you are given a problem, you need to really read the problem. What is the problem about? Restate back, summarize what is the problem, and identify what are the things that you know, what are the things that you need to know, and what are your learning issues, maybe because you never know anything about it. So so this is what I mentioned earlier. What is the problem about? Why does it happen? When does it happen? Who are involved? What are the requirements? What is your role? So these are important things that you need to highlight when you are given a problem. This is something that you will do throughout these phases. So in order for you to identify your learning issues, we're going to use this what we call as K and L table. K stands for what we know, N is what we need to know, and L is what is our learning issues. So this is K, N, and L table. So what we know is basically you write down here anything that you know in terms of, like, for example, if you go back to the problem earlier about the earthquake. So you know there is an earthquake in Pariaman, Padang. So that is what you know. And you know probably what happened to that, the disaster, whatever. So these are the things that you know is happening over there. But at the same time, what you need to know is this is where you have stated what you have previously know, but it was not in your long-term memory and does need to be revisited. For example, maybe you are not sure about the geographic location of Padang, so you need to revise, go back to the map. So this is something that you know before, some information, but you need to know, you need to revisit back. And the learning issues is basically this is where you state your learning issues, for which you know it is something that you have never learned before and you need to read to understand before you can solve the problem. So in this particular case, for example, like a role of humanitarian groups, do you know about that? So if let's say you don't know about that, then you're going to put in your learning issues. Similarly, when you're given a problem later on, there is something that you never know, you never learn, so it becomes your learning issues. But if let's say there is something already that you have learned, but you need to revisit back, it's going to fall in this particular column. Okay, so I hope that you'll be able to ready to kick off, and I would like to give acknowledgement to Prof. Dr. Khairiyah Yusof and Center of Engineering Education in UTM for the materials shared here. So thank you very much. I hope that you're going to be excited for the PBL that you will be facing in the near time. Thank you very much.